Oh, we are recording now.
Oh, awesome.
We
Cool.
we are. It's
I'm just
it's
like
very
so
slap shot.
more like, oh, I need it to be like cut.
Very
And hello, nice to see you. My guest today is blank, and that's how I
it's
roll. But
well,
we
it's
started, so
it's
cool.
different
Different strokes for
strokes.
different folks, friends. Oh, I'm starting off on such a good note. It's like what a cow as a guest, just like criticizing
Oh,
your
dude, that's what we're here
we're
for.
here for. Okay.
That's what
For
the
me to just be me.
yeah. No, the people want I guess Shane to be shaped into a a
I'm more
master
polished,
editor.
right? You need a little bit more of a round, like just shave off that excess.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no for now. But
Just to be clear.
yeah, again, give it up, people. We've we we've got the
Thank you.
the master. Uh,
Oh, okay.
I
Sure. Thank
that's
you.
yeah
Yeah, I have a few
yeah.
years. Few years behind my belt and 2K subscribers. Oh man, too big to handle. No, just kidding. I'm just saying that because my Twitter following is bigger and I'm like disappointed that it's not the other way around. That's okay.
They like you, and they're a
No, moving on. Let's get to a
small part.
topic.
Okay.
We're spending too long
So
at the chit chat.
I'm gonna take a question from
You have questions? You have questions that you've
I have
gathered?
I have I have a question at least.
Okay. You have a question. Okay.
Okay, Andrea,
Give it to me. Yeah.
what do you think about God?
Oh, so we're starting him off with some real softball questions, huh?
Yeah. This is how it goes. You just
That's
yeah,
how we roll. Okay, it's important to
that's
define the
good.
terms.
That's good.
What else? Okay, so one of the things I've come to realize is that I grew up thinking that Christians had the monopoly on understanding God. And as I have looked back in the past few years of my journey, I have come to see that when you have an infinite God, no one can have a monopoly on understanding him. Does that make sense? Because he's infinite.
Yeah,
So
different
just
people
because you
see
know a little bit
different
more.
strokes.
Okay, well, I'm not advocating for like a sort of pantheism or anything like that. I just it's more me understanding, you could say, the bigness of God. I've come to understand how vast and what is infinite. Well, I can't understand it, and coming to the conclusion that I actually don't understand what infinite means is a significant step, I guess you could say, for
Right,
me in my
right.
spiritual walk.
Been talking to Sherry.
Actually, no, I wasn't even thinking about Sherry. This is like, I mean, the group of people, you guys, the Discord group has come in after my crisis. I had a bit of like a spiritual crisis. And when I joined no, not after, I joined the group during the crisis and they helped me to go through it.
So how long do you think it's in the uh past, or how long would you say you're out of uh that
I'm
that
out of
pit?
the crisis, my dark night of the soul.
Right.
Or I've actually,
Could you
it's been
call it a
really
pit?
helpful.
Is a pit
No, well, I suppose, like, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, it felt like that. Not because of hard times on the outside, because of hard times on the inside. Like, it wasn't external. Well, I suppose it was if you count me joining Twitter and all the this and professors and like the atheist folk just bearing down in my like brain and heart. But it's not their fault. I was impressionable. But I would say that was 2 years ago. I want to say one, but I think it was longer. I think it was closer to a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it kind of started when I joined Twitter because that just happened to be the group of people, the intellectual dark web folk. It wasn't Jordan Peterson folk. It was all the rest on the other side who are just the real hard atheists and not falsifiable kind of folks. And, it's not valid if it's not falsifiable. And then, I just really started seeing this perspective that I hadn't really, I know what science is, like I learned in school, the scientific method and all, but I guess I just started questioning. I didn't really question that. I questioned before in my life, my spiritual walk, but I didn't question this much. And I never lost faith, I would say. I think that it's a good thing to question, but I didn't see it as good. I saw it as really scary and confusing. And I was really afraid, actually, that I was not going to be a Christian anymore. And I did not like that. But I when I joined Bridges of Meaning, Paul invited me, and I think one of the first things I asked, and I've said this story before, so sorry, people have heard it. One of the first questions I asked was, are my doubts safe here? And everyone was like, yes. They're encouraged, actually, because we're here to hash things out. So.
Yeah. So
Can I answer your question?
Yeah. So how long after that were you, you found the Bridges of Meaning Discord, and then
then I started watching Pajot. Then I started watching Pajot. So I wasn't super active there. Like I didn't really understand Discord very well.
Yeah.
And it was kind of overwhelming. And the honest truth is you're not very important there alone in the chat. Like if you say something that people don't resonate with or don't want to write back about, you're just lost in the spiel of comments, the way that it's set up. And I'm used to Twitter where I have my own little profile and people write me and comment on my things and I feel important. And so it was like, sometimes I would get tagged. And so I was a little bit more active then in the beginning when I was a shy new gal. But then that waned. And then I tried. I'm like, okay, this is good for your ego, Andrea. Like, you don't need to be the most important. If you say something and no one is interested,
I would say you were still important.
Learned.
You're still important.
It's not. It's different because we have chats now. Like, let's not get ahead because there was no. People didn't do the chat when I joined. It was 1 year ago in November. So this past November has been 1 year. So there have been waves of people going in the chat and whatnot. When I was there, people didn't really do the chat much. So it was just, sorry, I'm saying chat. I mean audio.
Voice. Yeah.
People didn't do audio. Voice.
Yeah.
I misspoke. I didn't mean like chat, like typing. I audio. Okay. So people did do the audio chat. This is me typing. In case I need to know that. So anyway, yeah. So I did, yeah.
Keyboard cat.
So I did get a little bit lost in that, and I just lost the incentive, even though I was like, "This is good for you, Andrea." I just didn't. It wasn't. I just had trouble keeping up with how quickly it would go, and also general, like the general channel people even now are like, yeah, that's kind of go to the other channels. They're easier to have a back and forth. But I joined the writers server in the summer, and I read Lilith with the group, and that's where I met Sherry, and that's where I heard her talk about George MacDonald, and that was fantastic. So it's a mix of Pajot and reading Lilith, and Lilith is so symbolic. Like, honestly, I don't think that I would have been able to comprehend Lilith, sorry, if it wasn't for having watched the Pajot videos. And so the things that those showed me,
Well,
the
now I
Pajot
gotta
videos,
read
what?
Lilith. So
You do. Everyone does. It's very difficult without incentive of everyone else reading and talking over it. Not because it's too hard, it's because it's not straightforward in any way. It's very confusing, even to the
okay,
point where the protagonist is, I'm confused. What's happening? I don't understand. Like literally, he's writing it because he's
right.
trying to get the confusion out to be like, no, you're
So
supposed to
like
be confused, and you're supposed to
breaking the
be, but you have to
third
push through.
wall type deal.
Kind of. Well, he's us. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
He's his name is Mr. Vane. Mr. Vane is us. He's the audience, and we're
Okay.
just as confused as he
Going
is.
through it.
And we like to think that we're starting to learn as we go. I'd say it was very helpful having a group to discuss it, but I digress. Okay, so watching Pajot and reading Lilith and having the writers group to talk about it with, those things combined, along with people who are atheists or agnostic is maybe a more accurate term, on Bridges. Bridges of Meaning is an offshoot of a sort of Jordan Peterson group. But there's people who are Christians and then people who are not Christians, and they might be atheists or agnostics, but they're not looking to fight. They're just looking to discuss things. And that was really helpful for me to see that it's not just all atheists aren't the same, all agnostics aren't the same. They're here to point out what a dummy you are to believe in Sky God.
Right.
Sky Dad. So watching Pajot, it sort of gave me this idea of, oh, you can see a different side of reality and not be bonkers.
Yeah.
Like which just seems like I should know that. Like, I took philosophy. I literally have a degree in like theology or like in Christian studies and Christian history. It's just I got a little bit disillusioned with what was real.
Yeah, or needed it from like a combination with the people on Twitter, and maybe like just like
People I
needed.
was interviewing as well were on that, really leaning that on that side. And it's like, what is real? That was the thing that I was getting caught up in. What is really real? And it's so cliche. Like, the audience here will probably be like, it depends on what you mean by real. And it is. It does depend on what you mean by real, because what I can materially touch, like this cup, is not the same as the concept or idea of a cup. You know, right. I have that in my head. Is that real? What I'm thinking of when I say the word cup versus what I'm holding in my hand? Well, they're both real in different ways. But then like the materialist will be like, no, but you can think about Santa Claus in your head, and that's nice. That's just in your head. It's not real. And then I just am like, okay, well, your definition of real is different from my definition of real. I do think that the thing about God is, I think that I think that you can go on from out and inside out with him. Like, you could say, well, anthropologically speaking, we are meaning making machines. Our brain is structured for meaning. So we put that on to things and to ideas and to myths and to legends and narrative. But I think that that's from the outside in, but from the inside out is like, we also like yearn for that on the inside. And I don't see why it's not unreasonable to think that therefore there's something out there.
There what?
That is not just fake, that we just had to do this for an adaptation.
Right.
I think that it's something infinite. That's God.
Yeah, and that's like the inside out, like that's like the image that came to mind was like Christ, and then the outside in, like projecting the meaning or seeing the meaning. That's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah, from the
that's like the
evolutionary
burning
perspective.
bush, right? So it's like, oh, maybe like where it starts, and then where it's and then it like culminates in Christ, or it becomes more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. It starts with the giving of the law, and then starts, I guess, if you think really think, well, starts in the garden. But if you really think about it, it's Moses, and then that's why then we have like Christ. But that's the thing about the narrative, like the narrative being so important, and that's the part that was the turning point for me in my, I call it my deconstruction. It's helpful that I have these words to describe what happened to me over these few years, because I didn't have the right words. That's why I just called it the dark night of the soul, which is apparently like this old church Catholic term. But it's a deconstruction of Protestantism and what I thought was right, versus maybe my own perception of things, and my own whatever. Anyways, so learning that like the way things are, I might not be right about some things, like with regards to religion and faith and God, but it doesn't mean I'm throwing the whole thing out. I'm just willing to see where I could be wrong. That's why it was scary. Do you see? And so,
Yeah.
but then I wrote Paul Vanderklay because I saw him on my friend Benjamin Boyce's podcast, and
So was
Paul
it
doesn't remember this. Hmm?
was it scary because, if you're willing to question, then maybe, like, who knows
Maybe
how
what if
much
I
of
come
it
to the
is
conclusion
is
that I'm
wrong?
wrong?
Right,
Yeah,
right, right. At what
yeah,
level? Right.
right. So I
Oh,
wrote
that's
Paul
scary.
Vanderklay, and he doesn't remember that I wrote him. I don't know why he invited me to the server. I think he must have seen. I think he saw my David Fuller video, and he was like, "Oh, this girl, Andrea with the bangs. I'll invite her to the server." But I had written him before, and he wrote me back. He just doesn't recall this. But I wrote him, like I was like, I need a pastor who gets it. I'm not a regular pastor. Cool pastor.
Okay. Okay. I thought you were putting the ball in my court. A cool pastor. We'll
Well,
just edit it.
you
We'll
could
edit
have,
it. Well, we'll just edit it so that I
you
said
say it then.
I just did a cool
You
pastor.
did.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but I'm trying to make it clean so that it's like, okay,
A cool pastor.
right. Exactly. Hashtag insert mean girl gif. Mean girls gif. Anyways, so I've said this many times. He is a cool pastor. He's one of the ones. He gets it. He
I'll
is
just overlay
online
the
enough.
meme
You can just
over.
put it over top of our faces. Um, so so he I knew I didn't want to just talk to like my local pastor, because I didn't think that he would get it. So nothing against local pastors,
No,
but it's
he
just that
wouldn't. Also,
right, what I was, and the reasons, and the being on Twitter and the IDW stuff and all that, and the sort of me taking this anthropological perspective, which people are like, you believe in evolution? Oh my gosh, like, are you a Christian still? Like that kind of a thing. And I knew he wouldn't do that. He just seemed like to get it. So I wrote him my crisis. And I just was like, it was like such like a please help me to see, to understand what's happening, and I'm scared. And I didn't write it like that, but I did think
my
that's the gist of it.
crisis.
And so I've mentioned the thing about the meaning making structures that humans possess, and how it could just be said from the outside in, like we just do this for an adaptation. And he said, he wrote me a whole bunch of stuff, but I actually didn't even need the most of it. The first paragraph is what I needed, and he said something along the lines of like, yes, we do need narrative. Narrative is a very powerful thing within humans and within human societies, to the point that we needed that narrative to come oh gosh, here we go.
Waterworks?
Andrea, why?
Waterworks?
Shush. I'm gonna get a hold of myself. To the point where we needed that narrative to come to us, to come and be made flesh and to dwell among us in order to know him. That's how much we needed the narrative. And so the concept of narrative makes sense. He's like, you're not wrong, but you just need to keep going. You know, that take that one step further and seeing where the narrative goes and what to what lengths this infinite God took for us to understand and to know him. And that's where the infinite, the thing that can't be contained, aka what you read in Job, in the book of Job, that's where he becomes finite so that we can know him. And that's what I think about God.
Okay.
And I did it. I got
Question-
through it.
Question 1. Complete.
Oh man, please, want a description about me? I would really appreciate if you don't describe me as someone. Well, this was an easy interview because Andrea just loves hearing the sound of her own voice.
No,
AKA what you wrote for Jacob. So I would appreciate if you wouldn't write that for me.
Okay. Well,
I'm just thorough.
Okay.
I'm
all
just
right.
very thorough.
So I'm gonna scratch that off and scratch that off my to-do. Yeah. So as far as narrative, I was trying to think about narrative today, and that's actually, it's a concept that I'm just starting to I feel like I'm getting a grip on it better, because I think in if I don't think in terms of, sometimes I think in terms of movies and symphonies, but I feel like I think more in I think more in sound bites. I think a lot of the.
Well, maybe that's from the GIF generation.
I think it has something to do with something there like that. Yeah, and so I don't know, I was there was and maybe I'll keep this in, but it was that video I sent you with all the kids bouncing the ball off of each other's head, and it was 2021.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I started watching that, and I think this happens quite a lot with me is you know, you'll start something and then you get to a point where it's oh, I could stop now and feel fine, but then you miss. But if you keep going through the entire thing, you see the finale and what the story was, why it was so uh you get this sense of uh meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
through the complete story, you
yes,
need the whole thing.
yes, and that you get that when you read a book, and then the moment it's done and you
feel that deep sense of sadness that it's finished.
oh, well,
I don't know if you get that. I get that with novels. See, because I most of the time I read fiction.
I feel relieved sometimes.
No, see, well, you don't read fiction as much, right? You're just reading I know, Saint Basil's social justice or whatever. Right. Whereas for me, it's oh, I finished this, and I'm just it was like a friend. It's oh, goodbye, Harry Potter. Goodbye, Frodo.
And that probably has
Into the West. Oh gosh, I can't even talk about Frodo going to the West. I just cry. Anyway.
Going to the meaning leaving.
And when he, at the end of Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Anyway,
going
sorry,
west.
Go on.
He definitely.
What's the symbolism of going into the West?
The West,
as
okay.
opposed to the East.
The East is sun rises in the east, so
Oh, and it
beginning
sets in the west, and it sets on his life, and it's like, well, his life on Middle Earth, and it
sits
begins in
on
the
the
in the
right,
Undying Lands. Okay,
right,
cool. Glad we
right,
sorted that.
right. So wait. So what is yes?
Come on,
So
you're giving me a high five.
what is east of Eden?
That's a phrase. I don't know. Isn't it a movie?
It's a phrase, and I think it.
But it's in the Bible. It's in the Bible
Mhm.
too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. East, and then we'll edit this east of Eden
And
until
then we'll edit this out. Andrea gets editing. She's special. You're like, I just stick everyone else's up.
well, I
Like,
did yesterday. Okay. Um East of Eden is biblical location of the land of Nod, where Cain was exiled. So that's below um
oh, it's the unknown. It's the margins.
it's a
You should
way
keep the part where you
east of
can
Nod.
find it in the land of Nod. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's the margins because I just
So
watched the video,
that's
the Peugeot video
that's
about
the many.
aliens.
Like that's what I think when I think of the the margins is just I associate it with the many
Why?
because
It's the
it's
unknown. It's chaos.
right. It's the like philosophically it's the many, whereas like as you go up the mountain towards
Oh, okay, okay. I see. Okay, if we're looking in like hierarchies, okay.
but go ahead, go ahead.
And then there's the few.
You watch
Well,
the video.
okay, because okay, so I watched the video about aliens, Peugeot, and stuff. And you know, it's not even about the aliens I want to talk about. The thing about, sorry, I'm kind of taking over. So the thing about the patterns of symbolism.
Thanks
This
for
is why
thanks for letting me
symbolism.
know.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just had to say it out loud.
Okay, okay.
I'm taking over this. Um, well, I just wanted to say this, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
That's because it's just in my mind. So the reason that I so appreciate Jonathan Peugeot's videos and the reason why it's helped me to see things from a different lens. It's like I have eyes to see things, because it's not like we don't know about symbolism. Like if you're a filmmaker or a writer or an artist really of any kind almost, you have to understand symbolism. You have to understand what this means if you put this here, if you put that there, so there is symbolism in our modern society, but
Okay.
I mean,
How much do you think that's
but
intuition rather than like
well, it's something that sometimes it's deep inside, but you know what though, I miss things. Like I'm intuitive about some things, but I didn't know why. A lot of the things, it's helpful having Jonathan Peugeot explain it. And then I'm like, oh, okay, here's an example. But this is actually Peterson who explained this, but it's similar ideas. It's more from a psychological perspective, but Peugeot has explained things in a similar fashion from the symbolic perspective. So I always, when you see people, so this will be my example as to why it's so helpful to understand
go for it.
symbolism for me. It helps me to see reality on a deeper level. And why it helped me get out of that sort of like valley of the shadow of death, and it helped to reconstruct. It's the beginning of my reconstruction was watching his videos. So when I would watch movies where someone was being hanged or going towards an execution, where they're walking towards their doom, basically, I always thought, okay, and you're like, what would I do? Okay, who's the one who did good job? Who's the one who's like, oh, you failed that death, the one who walks towards the gallows with their head held high and faces their doom, like a gentleman, you could say. But then there's the one who's a coward and is just like crying and like trying to run
Cut
away,
to
and you
cut to a clip
what?
of people getting their heads chopped off.
Sure.
Various
Sure.
films.
But and then now cut to a clip of where people are like scared and running away, and they're like, oh, I don't like no, I'm too young to die, like whatever. And
Captain.
you want to be the one who has their head held high. Why? You die within minutes. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? No, I'm not asking you. I actually know the answer. You could answer it if you like, but I never understood it. I grew up not knowing, so I'll let you talk.
Given
if
the
you want, and then I'll explain after what I learned about it.
well,
What's your answer?
it's a different
Why does it matter?
story. Well, given the choice, I'm running. I'm
Hey, you don't get out. You don't get free. No.
so okay. So
It's not a chance of escape.
right.
It's you are a coward and you're like, I am too afraid to face my doom.
Okay, but if I was going to face my doom, if there wasn't a chance to escape, it's important because it's you. Like that's because
But you die. You
right,
die anyway.
right.
But it still matters. No, I still thought it was like I didn't get it. It was like you die anyway. Why and then it's over. And then the struggle's gone and it's done. Why does it matter how you acted those last few minutes?
Okay, explain.
And so the answer is well, Peterson goes over this. It's the idea of it's not even really an answer. It's just kind of repeating what I said. It's just like like Christ is the archetype because he walks towards his doom with his head held high in a way that is admirable and that we all want to be. And so it's not really an answer. And what how I just described it was almost too thorough. Like I used the answer that I heard Peterson in my description because it doesn't sound very different from how I just described it. But I as he was explaining this in one of his like video lectures, I had all these images from past movies thinking of my judgments against those who didn't face their death properly,
Right.
and then my respect for those who did. And in those moments, I didn't understand why. I just did. I just respected some and judged
Yeah.
others harshly. So, and there's something about facing your death. You could say like a man, and having courage and being brave that we admire in our fellow man, in our fellow humans, because we want to be like that. That's what the hero does, right? And not only walking towards death with your head held high, also as a sacrifice for all. That's again with regards to Christ being the archetype. It's not just him. He's doing this for the many.
Well, now we're getting into the realm where we could try and talk about freaking like Justin Martyr or the different martyrs literally dying for these things for not even their
well, I mean, they're not dying for the sins of the world, but they are dying for their beliefs.
right, and they're not even dying for their own sin as somebody, if you are at the gallows and you, even if you did something wrong, it's, you still want to hold yourself up high because that's your chance at, virtue, right?
Right.
Then,
Yeah, well put.
yeah, and then a martyr is keeping their remaining virtuous after being dying for being virtuous.
Okay. I have a story. So for a more modern, I'm going to skip ahead like a couple thousand years of that. But it's really, it's along the same vein. So have you heard of the story of Corrie ten Boom and her sister Betsy?
I want to say yes.
The Hiding Place?
Oh,
It's a book.
no.
Okay, that's okay. Well, you're
I
about
might
to
have
hear
heard
about
of it, but go ahead.
I think I've actually mentioned it before. But so they are in I believe they're in Holland, and they are like they're Dutch watchmakers, and they hide Jews. They're hiding Jews in their house. And they go to they get arrested on suspicion of holding Jews. And the Jews actually are safe. The family of Jewish people, they were hiding in their house, in their home, never were found. But they were taken and they were sent to concentration camps. And the thing about the sort of going towards your doom with your head held high, the people who go in the most dire circumstances, who have something that they believe is greater than themselves, it's transcendent. It goes beyond your physical existence, no matter how bad it gets. So, but I do want to finish the story. So, but I'll
So
pause.
where were they? They were taken. They were hiding
I
Jews.
can't remember which concentration camp they were sent to, but like they were put up in trains and shipped off to a concentration camp.
Okay, so
They
they were
went to a
hiding
couple
Jews.
facilities. No, they were hiding people in their home because they were Dutch.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
weren't Jews.
No, they were hiding Jews. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
They were hiding Jews. So basically, they went they went in place of say the Jewish family, right? That they could have given up. So Corey is the interesting thing about between Corey and Betsy is that they're sisters, and so Corey is a little bit more of a real person, whereas and she's one who survives. Betsy is she's just a friggin' angel. Like she's just not real. Like she is a real person, but like so they get put into this particular concentration camp, and it's so the women's barracks are so dirty and gross and like flea infested and lice infested and rat infested that the guards, like the female guards, don't go in to their barracks because it's so bad. And the people, the women, like this is no judgment, by the way, on the women there. This is just in the worst of circumstances, this is just how people end up being. Like they would fight for the place that was like by the tiny little like heater or like tiny little stove or whatever, sleeping next to it, and like the blankets, they would fight over the blankets and like who got to have which blanket in which position and whatever. That was the state of it when they were there. But the attitude that Betsy had was that of like basically love, and she like, immediately what food she had, like she shared with the group when she got there, and amongst other things, other caring acts, they literally started taking turns on who would be in the most like the best positions, and they, like basically she just was like the hands and feet of Christ, and it spread to the entire like barracks that they were in, and it changed the attitude of everybody to the point where Betsy, when she got sick, the guard, the female guard, came into the barracks where she never ever would go into before to see how she was doing, and like took her to the infirmary. And Betsy actually ended up dying. She passed away. But Corey lived on, her sister lived on, because Corey was like a real person. She was like, curse these rats and these lice, And Betsy was like, no, Corey, we mustn't curse them because our barracks are so infested with these things. The male guards don't come in and rape us. We must see this at them as a gift from God. Oh my gosh. So anyway, so this is the people who have the whole point of this story, as I stifle my tears, is that if you like those who have, you could say this with regards to suicide bombers as well, to be honest, but those who believe in something above them, you can see the difference in their lives, especially in the most dire situations, because that's where you're tested. That's where your mettle is tested, is in the most difficult circumstances. And that's why I like this story, because it shows the difference one person can make and one attitude can make. And I mean, that's the ideal that we strive for as like believers, is to love beyond circumstance.
Yeah. And any and all is the idea.
So do with that
I
what you
really
will,
like that.
man.
Yeah. No, I really like that.
It just this is the thing. It's such a deep, the things that we humans believe, it's so deep, and it's in our Western society, it's a little bit, it's just sort of like flippant, like, oh yeah, beliefs are one things, and like facts are facts. They're like, they're hardcore, they're strong, we can stand on facts. And like
I
beliefs are
feel
just
like
opinions.
I feel like it's getting a little bit more. I mean, yes, I definitely have noticed that, but I don't know. It's seeming a little bit more important, and maybe that's just like my internal uh, thing. But I don't know. Like the I've noticed. I feel like I've noticed times where the discourse seems very um, like those conversations about beliefs are happening more. Maybe I don't know. It seems like there's a little bit less uh, talk about it right now, and
Wait, a
that's
little less talk about what?
like what people's beliefs are and what they're like. And I don't mean like on the Discord. I mean like on the whole. And that's I don't know if like where I exactly I'm reading that from, or if that has to do with my own like uh echo chamber or
So I'm trying to follow your train of thought, man.
okay. Okay.
So okay, I thought you meant like, oh no, there was, so why do you think that there's less talk about beliefs? I thought that you were saying that there was more.
Well,
So you're
okay.
saying that there's less talk
So
about
I
beliefs?
think okay. Gotta throw. No. Okay. So I
I just want to follow you. I'm not going to pretend. So
yeah. Okay. Okay. So I
no, let's do glasses, Shane. That'll set you straight. There you go.
guess I just haven't been hearing the discourse on belief lately that much.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you not watched Pajot's
Oh, dude.
discussions
Yeah.
with those atheist dudes? With well, there's Sargon, and then there was the Stephen guy. The can't remember his YouTube name, and then there's the, who's that other dude? Whatever. He's been
Sargon.
talking like late.
The rationality rules.
Yeah. Rationality rules, and then there's the other dude, and I can't remember his name, but
The guy who does
that's been going. So
who does,
there's those about beliefs.
yeah. And I mean,
Okay, I think people are coming around. People who are like,
yes.
no, God is silly. God is such a silly concept. We're so evolved beyond that. I think that with the wave of social justice and people believing in that has really made people, oh, I thought we were moved past this. But they're not believing in a sky god, sky daddy. They're not believing in that, but they're believing in something else
Right.
ardently.
And if that's almost if that could be a like if they could see how that fits in like uh hierarchy, like or see that that's a value in a field of values, I guess, or a that's one part of, oh gosh, existence as a whole, like
Hmm.
something like that, then like that might be a way of like uh understanding God or
Okay, okay, okay. That's I'm gonna take what you said and go with it because I think
you know
that you touched on
tweak it.
something that no, I'm not gonna I'm just gonna move go take it further. So if they understood the hierarchy idea, so not necessarily so let's go rather than talking about the hierarchy, if we look at center versus margins, if people and this is why I think symbolism is so important and it helped me to understand things better. There's always going to be a center, there's always going to be margins. And caring about the margins and those who are marginalized is very
Mhm.
important. But Jesus said, "Give to the poor," and he also said, "The poor will always be among us." So it's not that you don't try. It's not that you don't try to help, and it's not that you don't care about people. But it's just sort of understanding these patterns of reality, and that's why I think that's where I went into a couple of months ago, and I don't know, it could be a year ago. I don't remember time, but I started going into the gay marriage thing a little bit because understanding those on the margins versus the center helped me really to reevaluate my perspective that was given to me through my Protestant upbringing and seeing it a new lens from that. So but if you understand, it's like you can't take all of the margins and then move them into the center because there's then something else will become the margin. So I'm kind of touching on the social justice people, um, but if but you have to subscribe to understanding these symbolic things in the first place, like understanding like the mountain and the hierarchy and the center versus margins. And this is all, I'm going to say religious language, even though I know Peterson might be like, no, it's psychological. But if we're looking at it in the Pageauian way, in the Pageauian terms, it's like seeing the ultimate pattern. And that's where you see, God and the garden and the mountain and the church and the heart and all of these things. And that is one of the reasons why my lens, I'm going to keep bringing it back to this if that's okay, because it's how I'm starting to see reality in a way. Understanding the symbolism and the symbolic has helped me, and seeing these patterns and articulating it has helped me to organize what I believe and why and what I think about the world.
Yeah,
Because it's
so
hard.
yeah, no, when I think of like when I yeah, I think the organizing like the world
Sorry,
thing is
reconstructing my worldview
mhm.
with the symbolism attached. Because if you look at the way you see these patterns, it's hard to articulate it. Because that's what Peugeot always talks about. What symbolism is seeing patterns. And I remember I had trouble. I still kind of do. What does symbolism
Like
mean? I always forget what the definitions are because it's this like slippery sort of, you just know in your gut, like you know that you want to walk towards your doom with your head held high, but you don't know why. The same is, I was just thinking about this one. If one of your family members, say that your child, say your kid was like on trial and got pronounced guilty and had to be hanged or like head chopped off or like burned to the stake or something like that, do you look away or do you look? And to me, it just seems you've got to look. You've got to do them the respect of looking because like, and why? I don't know why. There's just something intrinsic of, fine.
intrinsic of
I thought you said one sec to me.
oh yeah, yeah, but intrinsic.
Oh, okay. So there's just something that you have to look, because if you look away, it's shameful, because you owe them that. If you love them, you won't. It's hard for you to look. They're the ones dying, and you can't even do them the service of looking. So anyway, seeing certain patterns, and again, I don't know how to explain it very well. I mean, maybe I'm doing an okay job right now. I'm not sure, but I'm starting to get the hang of it, and seeing these different things show up, margins in the center, and like the top and the bottom of the hierarchy, and like and inversions of hierarchy, and I'm starting to feel it through it, rather than trying to think about it. And like I said, there are some things that you like in your gut, but you don't know why. So I'm starting to sort of understand why, without having to like just be questioning it and understanding on a different level, we'll say.
I gotta get this thing
Well, I
charging.
tried. I kept going.
No,
I drew it out, man.
Yeah, no, dude, that was it.
So, is that okay? I keep bringing it back to like the symbolism thing.
Yeah.
Okay. What's going on, by the way?
I
What's
just
happening?
charger.
Oh, okay.
Charger. Sorry if I looked I don't know if I look agile
Oh,
or
man,
very lame.
dude, it's up to you if you want to edit or not. Oh gosh.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Okay,
definitely
so what do you think about, how does symbolism help you organize the way you see the world?
yeah,
You've
real
been
quick.
you're into Peugeot.
There's
You know,
been moments in other uh podcasts I do where I said, "Oh, I'm gonna edit this," and then just
and then you just don't.
uploaded the whole damn thing, the whole caboodle. But
I
I
mean,
will.
dude,
I'll.
it's your
I'll.
work. It's up to
I'll
you.
upload. Yeah. And I'm gonna take, you know, pride in it. I'm.
I mean, I wasn't the one diving over the bed grabbing my charger. You were, so.
Well, it's
That's that. Okay, but did you hear I asked you a question?
your question was,
Has symbolism affected how you see reality?
uh yeah. So I think, okay, so um bringing it, um you were talking about, I think, okay, so one thing that you mentioned a lot earlier was the talking to atheists who thought about uh God and conceptualized him as Sky Daddy, right? And that was a dumb thing to do, and that God was
I'm really reducing it down. Like I don't want to paint all atheists
right,
as like being like, oh, this is dumb because the flying spaghetti monster and blah 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 blah.
right. That's more like a between, you know, early, 2000. It's like
It's new
2007.
atheist. It's very new atheist, and some are still in that space. Others are questioning but don't want to jump over because they just are like, I can't say there's a God, but I'm seeing things that I don't like in reality in our world today that are happening because we don't have a meta narrative.
That they're saying that.
Yeah.
Right. Um,
But I
yeah,
mean,
and that's
it's up to you where you want to go.
well, that's where like isn't that sort of where the thing the being concerned about environmentalism, like that's the one that I think of.
That's true, but I feel like global warming was so like
Right. No,
whenever an inconvenient truth came out, like when was
yeah.
that? Like
This- So
2011 or like
2002. I was gonna say 2010.
2002? Gosh, I was
10.
off.
10.
Yeah, you were a child.
No, 2010. Yeah.
Oh, was it 10? Or I thought you said 2002. I was like, oh wow, I was off. Okay, see,
Well, I
2010.
was
I
still
wasn't too far off.
okay. So it's 11. So I was 14
Yeah, so like a teenager child, but yeah.
coming into the big boy.
Okay, but I want you to answer my question though. Like, so what? How is symbolism adjusted how you see the world?
Symbolism has so
Has it?
I think of things in terms of I think a lot of I think a lot in terms of uh one and many. I think that I think very uh in a lot of circumstances, most circumstances, um as far as like concepts, I think I think very dualistically, right?
Okay.
I try and hold two things like in it's like the kind of trying to a little bit keep in orient like keep in alignment with that John Stuart Mill uh quote or idea that was like basically you have to know both sides. I forget what the quote was. If you have to know the opposing side or you don't even have a right to pick the side that you
Okay.
feel
Hmm.
like you just
Wait,
it's
but
too
wait,
bad
how
to
how
say.
does symbolism come in there?
So I think that oh gosh, call it an intuition, symbolic intuition. Um, but so and in terms of like thinking about well, okay, so the idea of I was talking to somebody about this, and this is like separate from that. In terms of after reading Matthew's uh, language of creation, seeing things in terms of heaven and earth, um,
Oh, right. Okay.
in terms of um, work and the word used was well, like the jubilee
Like rest.
or rest
Okay.
or
Yeah.
recreation, and the word and that's an important word because
Mhm.
you're recreating. It's more cyclical, um,
Oh, interesting.
whereas heaven, the realm of light where things are very uh, more like oriented up and down, maybe like oh I know where I'm at, know where I'm going. Um,
And recreation is more
very A and B, I think. Like if you're gonna and then recreation is cyclical.
more okay. I was thinking horizontal, but okay.
Well, horizontal works because it's like
It's on
the
the ground. It's on the earth. It's the
Mhm,
earth, right?
mhm,
Okay.
yes, yeah,
That's so funny though, because the day of rest is the holy day though.
yeah. Oh, this is I was thinking about this yesterday because like you think of uh it's like it's almost you think of recreation as you know uh maybe satisfying the darker desires, or like, or just
That's how you think of it. Okay.
sure, and maybe
But go on.
okay, so then, and maybe I've become too. I'm very much, that's very in line with uh, dualism. Um, but and then heaven is, so yeah, you usually think of, well, I'm just thinking the realm of light and the realm of dark, right? And then the Sabbath is the day of rest, recreation, but it ends up being like a glory, I guess. And I was, it's funny you
But
mentioned
how
that.
does it end up being a glory? Like that is it, I'm having trouble connecting why the rec is it because it's holy? God said this is now God rested and gave us that, and he's like, you will take this day
Well,
and
okay.
have recreation on this day, and
So
so I say it's holy.
so I don't know.
Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy.
Mhm,
God said it'll be holy
mhm.
if you keep
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And if you don't keep it, you have to know what you're doing, and then you'll be blessed. But if you don't, you'll I was
I'm gonna have to think about it a little bit more, but I do like the distinction of the A and B, and then the recreation on land versus sky. It's more like it's a more earthly thing, yet it is the holy day. That's an interesting idea. So I'm gonna think about that more.
yeah, 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 yeah. And I think, well, I don't know exactly. That's the experience, at least. Like, there's, I know from my brother that if you he fasted 7 days, and on the seventh day he said it was like, it was, oh, I'm um something's changed. It's very much a um like, he said he felt like a kid again, basically. And
Interesting.
and and it's the same thing like with the work week, the like the last day, uh, the day of rest is, the presence of God is very clear. Like that's, the presence of God is there. It's potentially very clear if you're willing to put yourself in line.
Okay, because okay, so I'm thinking about all of the preparation for Shabbat that the Orthodox Jews put, was to not do work on Sabbath, and it's a lot of work. Like you have to get all the meals prepped, you have to get everything cleaned, um, in order to make sure to be not doing work on that day, and then it comes. So you're like, I've earned this. Like I not earned it, but like it's like I worked towards this. Like like this is how I'm keeping this day by the preparation for this space and time to be rest. And how different that must feel than, oh yeah, hey, it's Sunday, guys. Oh, right. Same with fasting. I was thinking about that because like the
You guys want
Orthodox
to go
Church
get a couple of
fasts.
brewskis?
The Orthodox Church fasts the season of Advent until Christmas, and then Christmas is feast. And it just really changed. I didn't fast this time around. Well, ever. I've never fasted during Advent. We just light the candles every Sunday at church. Well, not this year because of COVID, it's um, but it's like the feast is so much more meaningful when you fasted, and like that just okay. Okay. It touches my heart. Like actually, it makes it. That's why fasting. It's not for the sake of fasting. It's to oh, okay. It's to the feast. It's to show to give the feast its due. Because when you fast, it's in preparation for the thing that you've waited for to be so much better. to be to the year of Jubilee. Like, you know, like it's for the culmination of the thing that you were preparing for. And now you get to partake.
So be sure to pick up on Feast and Fasting by
Dude, of course you have that.
um,
Who is it by? Who's it by?
Saint Basil.
Of course. Oh my gosh, you love him.
He's
Okay, I actually do. I want that. I want to know more about. I am saying things that I have grasped at. I don't even know if they're actually true. I think they're true. So I need to do some more research on that.
that's dude. No, that hit me. Basically, when it's when you delay, gratification. It's it almost like you are rewarded when you decide like to okay, I'm going to do this thing.
Partake.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
partake in
So
this thing.
consider it. So yeah. Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of any kind, because it is a refiner of your faith. That is like James 2 verse 2. And I added a paraphrase of the following verse because I don't remember it exactly. But you don't suffer for suffering's sake. It's a refining process that brings you closer to God. And actually, you know what? It's not just in the Bible. There's a mystic or philosopher called Rumi, and he says the suffering is the way. Suffering is the way.
Yep. The obstacle is the path. Like
Is the path.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So there's something to it, but it's not for suffering's sake. It's not. We're not like masochists or sadists, whichever one is the appropriate term.
right.
Masochist, I think. You know, like we're not just like, oh, like pain. Yes, there's a point. There's an end to it, and that is to like refine to the separating the wheat from the chaff. You know, it's to the gold is being heated, and the debris
It's
on the
for the
top
holy
is
day.
being swiped away, and what's left is pure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's for the holy day. That's why it's and that's
But I'm still so Protestant. I can't be like, it's not through works of righteousness, it's by grace through faith. So I don't want to act like these things make us holy,
well,
but it's making us mindful
that's you have to have faith to put yourself.
to do these things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and like I mean, enough said probably on.
Mic drop on that one. Okay, what else? What else? What else do you have for me, Quality? What
um,
else are we talking about?
we've got aliens.
Oh, really? We're going there? Okay. Okay, yeah, we can, because I brought it up, but I brought up
Dude,
more of the general.
I could talk about the Jubilee.
No.
All
Let's
day.
go. No, okay, what do you want to talk about? I just see it interesting as like the margin, like aliens as our, the idea of the going out and exploring, where that used to be the ocean and ships. It's now outer space and ships, like and it's like going into the unknown,
Because our
going into the
technology.
margin.
Right.
Here be monsters.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where.
But I don't really. What else? I don't know what else to say about it other than that.
I'm glad you got a synopsis.
So, but no, but go take it and run with it, man.
No,
What do you
no,
want to say about it?
that's I just think it's interesting.
Do you think they're real? Like Joe Rogan has been sharing like unidentified like objects
Yeah,
like falling into the ocean off of whatever.
yeah, I do believe that there's a reason the topic is so the sense of meaning that I get, uh, is an indication that something's happening. At I I've believed in it before. I have explicitly said, um, "No, I believe this. I
Okay.
believe this." So I think I
Why?
um because it's partly maybe because it's fun to going out. The idea
Dude, no, no, no. I was imagining you being like, because it's friggin' awesome.
of because the idea. So because I want to go out with a uh you know a radio or something that will track an alien signal and spend a day or two looking for aliens, and the only way um I have to believe in aliens to do that. So for that I'm it's
Wow, no,
it's about so I'm
you can
going to
question. No, you can question without belief. Like
so
you
I'm
can,
going to
well,
do that, right? Right?
you can be open,
Right. So
but
I'm
you
going to do that. So what does that say about my beliefs?
actually, that is exactly what I was going to ask you because that's what Pajot ends the video with. He's like, it's not the stories, it's what people interpret the stories to mean, which is like the favorite, whatever the person's favorite sci-fi film is, tells you a lot about that person. So the fact that you want to go exploring for such things, what does that say about you?
Right. Right.
And now
Well,
I'm interviewing you.
audience, tell me what that says uh about your boy here. Okay, so
No, no,
if
no, no. I want to know. So I want to know what you think. I have an idea of what I think about why you're doing that, but why do you think you're wanting to do that?
because
It's friggin' awesome.
because friggin' awesome, dude.
No, no,
No,
no. Okay, okay.
I don't know. Because I'm weird. I
No, no, no. You're not afraid of the margins,
right,
and I think you want to be open to what it has to teach, because that's the thing about the margins is it could be dangerous, but
right,
it also is something you could learn from,
right.
right? Like Odin giving his eye for wisdom. Um, I'm trying to think if that happened on the margins or not. But like if you go out into the unknown, no, but I mean that's the hero's journey. If you go out into
That's
the
it. Yes.
unknown, which is the margins, you could get some real knowledge, some real good stuff, and then win the girl. So
Right,
there you go.
right,
That's your motivation.
right, right. So then when I'm
Secret knowledge.
right. So when I'm out there,
And then you can share it with the group.
yeah, yeah, and and maybe if you're out there with the aliens, you just end up you know with an alien babe, and
Okay. This is taking a turn.
then you can send your earthly uh oh gosh, your earthly okay, I'm gonna stop.
Okay, let's just are we good? Is there more? Like are we wrapping
um
up? Or did you want to keep going?
okay, so I'm
It's up to you.
oh gosh, well it seems okay, so what it seems like to me is that we got like is there anything like okay, so the this we can talk about it later too, but it just like the Jubilee and like the day of like resting, like
Okay, because Peugeot does have a video on that, on like the 666. He
Mhm.
does talk about, I might rewatch that one because I watched it like way back when I was first getting into the symbolism thing. Um about how six is the work week, and it's not necessarily evil in and of itself. It's just, it's like, oh, look at how earthly we've built up ourselves with our work. But then with the seventh day, the seven is the God ordained sort of God centered completeness. Whereas if we're going from an earthly perspective, it's the six days of work. But and that's where man is the center. But when you go and you add the seventh day, that makes God the center. And that's why the number seven is a number of completeness, and six is like incomplete, but it's sort of a glorifying of man.
Well,
That's what that means.
yeah.
So we could maybe work that in. I had to think about it, how it relates.
Well, that's okay. So you have the work week, which is the seventh day is the extra, right? That which
But the thing
remains.
that
The remainder.
reorients you towards the good, towards God, like the full completeness. Because if we were going off of us, it would be 6 days. And I'm not talking like literally, I'm talking more metaphorically, which is man being the center of all things, kind of thing. But adding that seventh day, that I believe is what reorients us towards God, and that's why that is the complete number in the Hebrew Bible.
Mhm. Mhm. It reminds me actually, like that's I think of the extra or the ornament, right? Or something like another thing I think of is like the you know your neighbor or the extra person,
Oh,
right?
the extra, like also for the gleaners, like you would, like they would leave extra, they wouldn't harvest the entire field. They would leave extra grain for the margins. For the like Ruth was someone who was someone who would glean because she was a widow. So gleaning means these like widows or orphans go out into the fields and would take the extra bits of grain that were left for those on the margins. So that's the extra. That's what comes to mind for me for the extra.
Hmm. Hmm. And
So, well, but that makes sense because that's it takes if there wasn't that extra, it's like, okay, work yourself to the bone. You need to, like, man, again, that man is the center of all things, and we will do all our work. But then that extra bit is set aside. So set aside some for the margin, set aside.
well, okay, so that's that. Okay, I'm grasping, but it's like the 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 extra thing, that you um do, let's say your well, this section of the podcast would be
Is the extra.
yeah,
Okay. Yes, this is our extra that is set aside for
yeah, yeah,
talking about the extra.
yes. This is it's what perfection.
Everyone, take a good look. This is perfection right here for
Okay,
my YouTube channel.
you can see Andrea's stuff on her YouTube channel, Andrea with the bangs.
Yep,
Andrea also
this.
she has
And I have
a
a podcast by the
bunch of
name of
She Wonders Why.
She Wonders Why.
And
And this is, look, it's like even my hair is
and
doing.
she does wonders why if
I wonder why all the time.
if
That.
you were wondering. Um yeah, Thank you, Andrea.
Oh, you're welcome. You're
And
welcome, Shane Coelty.
um, yeah, so we'll